This is your go-to podcast for the breaking news across the NFL, while breaking down how this might affect your fantasy team's success. Are you ready to be a champ? Then welcome to Fields of Fantasy.
How's it going, everybody? It's your boy, Jonny B, and welcome back to DFS with Fields of Fantasy, and it is championship weekend. Yeah, we are 2 games away from the Super Bowl, so for every NFL fan, it is pretty exciting, especially if one of your teams is still in with a shout of getting there and is in the championship game, whether that's the AFC or the NFC. And of course, I am joined, as always, by the main man of South, Nathan Dowie. Did you enjoy the divisional weekend? And how was your DFS?
My DFS, I'll be honest, was poor. We don't need to go into that. I didn't do no good. I fucked the season-long team up. In the money games, I come nowhere near. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed the Texans lost.
Yeah.
I'm sick of seeing Mahomes and the Chiefs there. I think Texans should have beat them.
Yeah, I think they probably should have done it.
It was there to win, wasn't it?
It was there to win. I mean, there was a few dodgy calls, and all the Chiefs fans would be like, change the record, but yeah. there was a couple of dodgy calls in that game.
I was buzzing for you and the Buffalo Bills.
Absolutely, 125 down the drain, waka waka, hey, come on, Buffalo.
Yes, I am. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I already seen the highlights because obviously it being a late game, but yeah, I was buzzing. Buffalo won. Eagles. I'm not too bothered. I'd rather not see Eagles there. But I was also very happy Washington won. I think we all predicted the Lions.
Well, from a DFS point of view, especially in my season game teams, I was pissed off that Lions didn't go through. But I think as a football fan, it's nice to see Jaden Daniels get all the way to the championship game.
I think everybody wants to see Bills Washington final now, don't they?
Yeah, I think unless you don't like the Bills or unless you don't like Washington because for whatever divisional reason, or if you are the Chiefs or an Eagles fan, yeah, that has got to be the Super Bowl you want, surely.
Yeah. And you know what? My predictions are I think the Bills beat Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think for me, in the AFC, Bills and Ravens were the 2 best teams all season.
I'd probably agree with that.
I don't think the Chiefs, I know they find a way to win, but they don't look good, do they? Be honest. You never watch them and think that's a good team.
No. You hear some people and Ravens fans last week going, the Ravens threw that game against the Bills, but it was a game that was decided on turnovers and what team have the best turnover margin in the league over the regular season? The Bills. We win in games. We had our record because we were so good at protecting the ball and so good at stealing it. And it happened in that second quarter. Yeah. And I think people are not giving enough credit to that Bills defense, and they're all saying, Lamar chucked it away, and and then you go back to Andrews not catching the ball, but people also forget there was 1 minute 15-ish, might be 1:10 to 1:15, I can't remember the exact time, still on the clock. We still had timeouts. But even better. So then we still had timeouts as well. It's like, would you back Josh Allen to get, that, get him down the field? Exactly. So what it does, all that Andrews didn't cost them the game. It cost them a chance at staying in the game, really.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then I was very shocked with Washington, but I was happy. Eagles, Rams. I didn't think it was a very good game, actually. It's probably the worst game of the slate for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it was the worst one to watch.
And with Hurts injured, I think he plays, but he did look banged up, didn't
he? Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see because we had the Washington Eagle game a couple of weeks ago. Eagles were dominating with Hurts. He went off injured, Pickett come in, and Washington won. So I still think I favour the Eagles. But Washington are in with a chance.
Yeah, I think any Super Bowl possibilities could easily happen. It's not like we've got one that's a favourite. I think that's you almost think's going to get there. And the way the playoffs have gone, you can't take anything for granted, and anyone come in on any given Sunday. So,
Yeah.
it opens it up to a lot of different possibilities in DFS because there's a lot of different,
And our partners Fanteam on their sports book, they have Eagles vs Commanders as a 47.5 game total.
Okay. Yeah.
They have the Bills and the Chiefs, 47.5 total. And them odds are pretty reflective. I must admit, I looked at this 2 days ago, so they may have changed slightly, but on the day I looked, a couple of betting outlets all had that. They have the Eagles as a 6.5 favourite,
Okay.
and they have the Chiefs as a 1.5 favourite.
I think the Chiefs is fair. They are at home, and the Chiefs, they've got the history of winning. I feel that it's a bit harsh on Washington.
I must admit, looking at these odds, I would probably take Washington at 6.5,
Yeah.
and I would take the Bills at 1.5.
Yeah. I think it could go either way with the Chiefs and the Bills game.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be a lot. A lot of people are acting if they're very, very confident that the Bills should win this because the Chiefs haven't been as good this season. But you want to remember it is the Chiefs, and you can say they. I think a lot of people would say the Chiefs probably haven't on you know on the eye test are probably worse than that they've been for what 3-4 years.
Oh, for sure. Look, I
It may be more than that. So you you kind of think, okay, fair enough, but what record have they got? And there's a reason why they got the record. You can ignore that the Broncos beat them. The only other team that beat them in the regular season was the Bills, and they got that because they are a well-coached team that know how to win. And you can't forget that just because the Bills beat the Ravens.
I think though, you know what interested me with the lines?
Yeah,
When you build your team, you always look for the shootout.
yeah.
The bookies see both games with the same total points.
I feel like they're sitting on the fence a bit, really.
But do you see one of these being higher than the other? Like, I'm not confident. I would actually sit on the fence with it.
I think it's hard to call. I could see. I think
I could script you both games
I,
going
I,
high.
in my head, I think the most likely to be low scoring is the Bills Chiefs because I think KC haven't scored many points all season. They've then haven't really been breaking 30. And then on the other side, I think the Chiefs are capable if they want to be, and if they are coached as well as we know they can be with a Spags defense. That the actual Chiefs could keep the Bills quite quiet. And we've had games where Buffalo haven't been that like electric. They've just been steady and got the job done rather than blowing teams away. So I think that game could be one of the lowest score. The one the it's most likely to be the lowest scoring for that reason. But then who do I then think can be the highest scoring? Possibly that game could be as well, just because it's Alan Mahomes, and we know what
Right,
champions. We know what the matchup's been like in the past in the playoffs.
and you know yourself, if the Bills take a two touchdown lead,
Yeah,
Chiefs are going to be forced to throw.
yeah,
It could just end up shootout. And then I look at Washington and Eagles. That does on paper look the most blatant for me as a shootout. But with Hurts banged up, we're seeing Eagles can keep Daniels quiet. So
yeah.
and it's like a big atmosphere for him as well. He coped brilliant against the Lions, so I don't think that should really play a factor. But going to Philadelphia, it's a hostile environment, isn't it?
It is. And although you can get up quick, it can be quite hostile to the home team as well if they're behind. So it
But
goes both
yeah,
ways, isn't it?
should we look how we've both built our teams?
Yeah. So we built our teams for the championship weekend. We neither of us know what team we've got. As we've done throughout the playoffs, rather than going position by position as we did normally, and we'd have Dowie with his favourite pick for that position and me a few I like. We've just done two separate teams, and we're going to go position by position still, and just the player we've picked in are those teams. So the quarterback situation then, who have you gone for at quarterback?
So, looking at it, Josh Allen high scoring,
Yep.
Hurts second, Daniels third, Mahomes fourth. Now, from Mahomes to Allen, there's about 2 million. So it is
Yeah.
all quite tight pricing. I've actually gone with Jalen Daniels.
Okay.
So I've gone with that because I think it's most likely to be the high scoring game. I believe Jalen Daniels and Scary Terry would be the number one stack. And with Hurts a little bit banged up, I think you might see his legs a bit. He won't do as much with his legs, where Jalen Daniels does with his legs as well. So I'm a bit more confident in Jalen Daniels rushing. So for me, with Daniels and Scary T stack is the number one for me. High scoring game and the rushing ability. I've gone with Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the exact same thought process on that game. I just prefer the stack of Daniels and McLaurin. I don't necessarily think Daniels has necessarily got um, the best, more the ceiling as high as Hurts. But I do just prefer the stack because I'm unsure on Brown and Devonta Smith, who's going to be the highest scoring one in the game, blah, 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 blah. But I'm really sure that if Daniels is going to do well, I think Scary Terry is quite likely to be the one that does well with him. So for that reason, I do like a Daniels over Hurts. But I've gone with Josh Allen personally, just because when it's a difference of 0.9, I do think Josh Allen is going to turn up against the Chiefs. I am confident that the Bills will play well. Whether they'll win a game is a different matter altogether. But I think the Bills will play well. And if they don't win the game, it'll be Chiefs forced to play better than they have done offensively for the rest of the season. So I can see that. I think the Buffalo are going to do well. Hopefully, I'm pretty confident on it, and I think Allen out the quarterbacks are on there when it's only a 0.9 difference. I'm going to back him.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't want to go Mahomes, and to be honest, and that I want to back one of those other three because they are really the point scoring.
I believe so because they've all got that rushing ability.
So then it's
I'm just a little bit more knocked on Hurts because of the injury.
That's it, and that's why yeah. But
yeah, for me, I'm just going personally Daniels, and then Allen would be my second choice.
I think it also comes down to how you can afford what else you've got in your team as well. Yeah. If you can afford to be honest, I could afford to bump up to Allen. Once I got my team, I'd originally think I had Daniels just because how I was building it, but I had money left, so I bumped it up to Allen for the way I built my team. So that's how I got there. Running backs. Where have you gone with them running backs? Because I'm thinking we might be a bit different if you've gone for the most expensive.
Well, Barkley is the most obvious choice.
Yeah.
But he's also 23 million. Now, I couldn't build a lineup I liked with Barkley. So, I went with Jimmy Cook.
Okay.
13 and a half.
Yeah.
He's had a great season. You can't argue how good he's been.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He would be RB2 on this list, I would believe.
Yeah.
And then I've gone with Pacheco. Now, I've gone with Pacheco. I don't think he'll be heavily owned. I think a lot more people will go with Hunt. But I still believe they will start the running with Pacheco. And if he can shine, and we've seen running backs have some success against Bills. Like we argue Bills' stats are not great against running backs, but every time I seem to go running back against the Bills, they stink. But the Chiefs can run the ball well. And I've gone with Pacheco. So I've looked at Cook and Pacheco. That's cost me 23 million. That's the same as what Barkley cost.
Yeah.
And I do really like Barkley. I just can't justify the pricing.
Okay, so I'm the same. I haven't gone Barkley because of the money, because I've wanted. I think if you go Barkley in this game, because of the price of the quarterbacks, right? This is the reason. The cheapest quarterback is 19.7 million, I think, for Mahomes. So then 90.2 million. Sorry, we're still over 90 million. So then, if you want to have decent assets when you wide receivers as well, you kind of really struggle to have a Barkley team unless you go to an ultra cheap alternative for Barkley, and you'll still struggle to get some decent, more than one decent asset across the rest of your team. So that's why I've not gone Barkley. I've also gone Jimmy Cook because he is the second best running back on the slate, and I don't have any faith in any of the others being my RB1 in the lineup. I don't mind them as my RB2, but I don't want them leading the front of it. I tied. I was thinking about whether I go Hunt or Pacheco. They're over 10 million. But with the way I've built my team, I had to go cheap. And I could either really go Gainwell with the Eagles, or I pick one of the Bills running backs up and actually go dual running back, which is actually what I've done. I've actually went and got Ty Johnson alongside Cook. It was a toss-up either way because I do like Davis as well, and I think he could get some more running work than Ty Johnson was. But I think Ty Johnson could get more of the pass-catching work as a running back. And yeah, even though the Chiefs really over the regular season have probably been the second best defense against running backs this season, and actually the Eagles have been number one, which is why I didn't pick any of the Washington running backs. So you could argue actually maybe I should have gone Gainwell, but the thing is I just haven't seen the past performances for Gainwell. And if you do believe even if I can't afford him, I do believe Barkley will get most of the work because the Eagles' offense really is built on Barkley doing well this season. So then that is why I've landed at Ty Johnson, just because I believe that even if James Cook does well, Ty Johnson can do well. But if Barkley does so well, I think it's less likely that Gainwell can do well. And that's kind of where I went with it. And it's more, I just needed a cheaper running back, just the way I built my team.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I actually did have Gainwell in my team.
Okay.
And there's one player I've got in at wide receiver now, but I did just take Gainwell out.
Okay.
Because I'm not confident on him, but I might have to use Gainwell because I'm at that point where I've got to have a £6 million player.
Okay.
But I get your stack with the Bills running backs. They're a committee back now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think everyone gets a bit of work, and even Ray Davis gets some work as well.
Yeah, I totally get it, and yeah, I see that. Yeah,
cool.
So,
Wide receivers.
So going with Daniels, you have to go with Scary T, don't you?
Absolutely. And if you don't go Daniels, I'm also going Scary T.
So I got Scary T. Now I'm looking at Washington and Philly to be the shootout.
Yeah.
So I've got AJ Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
Not that I love AJ Brown, but we are stuck with wide receivers, aren't we?
Yep.
And you got to pick someone. So if you think it could be a shootout, Scary T and AJ Brown should be the two wide receivers what go off. I've got Shakir.
Yeah.
Mr. Reliable. I've then got... Now, this is where I swapped Gainwell. Chiefs always have that one wide receiver what goes off, who just randomly goes off.
Yeah.
Juju.
You've had to go cheap, haven't you?
Well, that my lineup is basically I got 6 million. It's going to be Juju or Gainwell.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm very confident in McLaurin, Brown, and Shakir. I'm really happy with that. So I've had to make a sacrifice because I've got Cook and Pacheco as well, who I really like. So Juju's the sacrifice as it stands. But like I say, it could be Gainwell on game day. That will be the one position one player what may change.
Okay. So yeah, I've got Shakir as well. I think it's the obvious choice at the Bills' offense of what wide receiver you're going to pick. I don't think he's going to. He doesn't have the hugest ceiling, I don't think, as a wide receiver. But I think he's one who'll get you consistent points. He's the most reliable target, bar one in the NFL this season in terms. So I think in such a short game, in a small game, you may as well pick the safest hands. And then I can't afford AJ Brown because of the way I've gone with this team. So then I've got an Eagles asset in my team. So I have gone Devonta Smith, who has been particularly quiet at many times over the season. But 11.2 million, I do believe he's the type of player that actually will benefit with Goddard not being there, because I think since Goddard's come back, Smith has gone down in his volume. So I think that if Goddard is out, I think Smith will benefit from that. But he's still talented, and I think he's still got the ability to have 20-point weeks, and I think he can against the Washington defense. So hopefully that one will pull off. But that's kind of the one I'm like least confident on the price I've paid across all my team. I would have liked Brown, but even Brown's had quiet weeks, so it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
And that's my wide receivers. I've not picked three. So you may have guessed that I've gone two tight ends.
Yeah. So I'll go with my tight end. Now, I actually had a bit of cash to spend. I couldn't have Kelsey. I could have Ertz, Goddard, Kincaid. They would be my three I would pick from.
Yeah.
As it stands, Zach Ertz form 12-18. It's the highest. Scored quite a lot more points than the others. I don't mind Goddard, but he's a maybe at the minute.
Yeah.
So as it stands, I have Zach Ertz in the team. Obviously, with the Jet Daniels quarterback, it's nice to have assets from that game, isn't it?
Yeah, I do. And I do think, if you're not picking Kelsey, I'm probably wanting it. I think he's the most likely, I think, out of the rest to get some red zone work as well, which is quite important. I don't think you get enough of that from Kincaid. Goddard, of course, you noted here, is a maybe. And he's got limited. He's been limited in his practice with an ankle problem. I never have faith in Goddard's fitness anyway. So then I'm kind of like, do I want to go away from that? Otherwise, if he was fit, I probably would have picked him. And then you've obviously got the cheaper options below that as tight end twos. I've actually gone with Kelsey. I think proof is in the pudding with how he performs in playoff games. We saw it again last week against the Texans, picking up 24 points and breaking records. So, even if the Chiefs don't do very well, I still think Kelsey will have a good game. Just because he just picks up on the playoffs. I don't know. He just loves the playoffs, doesn't he, Kelsey?
Doesn't he?
And then to just allow the rest of my team, I've gone on the thought of, God, it is a maybe. So I've looked all the way down, and Calcaterra is only 5 mil. So if Goddard doesn't play, that is an absolute steal. And actually, I'd rather pick Calcaterra as my cheapie in my team than I would a Gainwell or a Juju for consistent points. I think you're more likely to, I think if Juju does well, he's more likely to get a stupidly long catch for a touchdown, and all of a sudden he's on like double-digit points just off one play. I don't see that as much for Calcaterra. And will he get enough volume to get a ceiling to compete with that? Maybe not, because Juju could then get one or two other catches and get more towards the 20s. But I just think at 5 mil that is ridiculously cheap, especially if Goddard's not, because Calcaterra, he hasn't had huge games when Goddard's been out, but he has had a couple of 10-pointers, and I'm happy with the 10-pointer because it's allowed me across the rest of my team to just fill it up with assets that I know have good high ceilings.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Calcaterra is one of them I'll be looking at. If Juju doesn't, if Goddard isn't playing, I will put him in because I can get rid of Juju. I've just been having a little play around actually, and I could get either a Dotson Gainwell. So Calcaterra could be the best option if Goddard's out, and I will change.
Yeah.
So yeah,
cool.
But yeah, Kelsey is a great pick for.
It's just playoff man. I think he's going to be highly owned anyway because of the amount of tight ends that are available on a 4-game slate. But I do like him in particular, and I do like going double tight end because I don't think too many people will unless they get onto Calcaterra, and then I think it's 2 tight end sets in your teams could be a really lovely way to go.
Yeah.
DST, who have you picked there? For me, the pricing's quite close.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, with the money I had left, it was either the Commanders or the Bills.
You gone the Bills?
I've gone the Bills because
Yeah,
I've only got Pacheco, really. I've got Juju, but I don't think he's going to be in the team come game day. So it doesn't really hurt me because I've got assets from Eagles, Bills, Washington. So it kind of makes sense to go with the Bills. The Chiefs, you
yeah,
could say, have been the lowest scoring offense out of them all as well, haven't
yeah,
they?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
Bills.
mean, yeah. I think if you look at the slate, I think which team is most likely to shut the other team out. When I mean shut, I don't mean necessarily get 0 points, but keep them really, really low. And I think if the Eagles' defense turn up, I think they can really keep Washington low. Um, but if it's not Washington Sunday, Eagles defense could eat them alive. However, I think, as you say, Chiefs are probably the lowest scoring out of the four uh, teams, and then with the Bills, you've also got the added bonus of, out of all the teams, who is the best at stealing the ball? The Bills. We've seen it throughout the season. So then I think that just, the more you steal the ball, the more a DST has got chances to take that ball and take it for a touchdown. So for me, I think, given with the fact they're the third cheapest, and I don't really want the Commanders against Saquon Barkley, I've gone with the Bills as well. I think it's the easy choice, especially if you can't afford the Eagles or the Chiefs because they're 0.5 and 0.6 million more. Then I think you're going to go Bills, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's the most obvious one. I think the Eagles probably have the high ceiling because they're the ones who I can see making Washington make a lot more mistakes.
Yeah,
But that's only a maybe, isn't it?
it is. It is. It is. But you look at all the teams and how many points they give away on average uh, to DSTs. The Bills, on average, are given 3.7 points away. So you're probably not going to want to go the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they gave an average of 6.1. The Eagles gave an average of 6.6. And the Washington gave an average of 6.9. So these offenses we know across the season have not been very kind to DSTs for points. So I think you just got to back. I personally just think, okay, I see that. So what team gets the most sacks? What team across the season as a DST has got the most interceptions? Who's been the best at taking the ball away and stealing it? That's what we need to look at rather than ceilings, in my opinion. Just who is at the core stats, who gets the most sacks. And actually, interestingly, the Chiefs have given away a lot of sacks. So there's another one to look at. They're giving away 11 interceptions. They just haven't given away touchdowns to DSTs, and that's why they're low. But that could happen this week with the Bills because they could get enough sacks, interceptions to try and force something.
Yeah. Should we
So
go on to the season long?
yeah, let's just go on to the season-long game. I think it's quite an interesting one because it all really depends on your actual team situation, how many transfers you might have to make, and from there, kind of like, if that's the case, do I need to take hits? Do I need to use my wild card yet if I haven't already? If I have used my wild card already, and you're in a situation like one of my teams, do I need to take multiple hits? Because I used a wild card in the for the divisional game, and then 6 out of my 9 players are now out for the championship game. They've been knocked out, so I only have 3 players starting. So how many points is it worth taking hits or not? I think is a big discussion point that we need to talk about. And I think if you look at who's been knocked out in your team, so I'm in a situation where my defense has been knocked out, so I might not even change my defense this week. I might play with no defense because you've got to take a -8, and I think out of the DSTs, you know how likely are any of them to get hugely over 8 points? Probably not that highly. So I think I'd rather just keep my 8 points because what's the average that they're probably going to get? About 8 points. So I might as well just keep it. But then across the rest of my actual team, it was a lot of higher scoring high price players that got knocked out as well. So then I think it is worth taking the 8 points, because how many starting wide receivers and how many starting running backs do you think get more than 8 points a game? Most of them. So you may as well take the 8 point hit, in my opinion. It's only when you've got players, say, I know he's actually still in the game, but if you had someone like a Watson, which I've got as my Chiefs, whatever, chief wide receiver, if the Chiefs were knocked out, I might actually just not play him. I might just, I might just leave him as someone that's not transferred in, because they're a type of player that could easily go for less than 8 points. But for this team, so I made 5 transfers on my team with 6 people out, left my defense, and the rest of the team I had to get rid of was Derek Henry, Sam Laporta, St. Brown, Collins, and Aguilar. And in return, I think Aguilar is on its own. You may make an argument to not even bother at 8 mil. But because I had so much money across the rest, I could spread it more and upgrade better. So I got in Saquon Barkley because I thought that was an obvious choice to swap with Derek Henry. I got in Zach Ertz. I got in AJ Brown. I got in Shakir. And I got in Goddard. And that's left me with 3 Buffalo players and 3 Eagles players, because I'm hoping that if those 2 teams get through, those 6 I don't have to change. And then in the Super Bowl, I'll only have to change 3. It's a bit risky because I could be in the same situation as I am this week, because if the Chiefs and the Washington win, I've only got 3 players playing in the Super Bowl, and I've got 6 again, where it's a risk. But I feel like because I'm having to take some hits, I need to take some risks to try and catch up. But if you look at my team of basically no defense playing, but I've got Barkley, Johnson, Allen, Shakir, Watson, Brown, Ertz, Goddard, I still think it's strong to be able to score a lot of points from that. So hopefully that will do well. But then in my second team, I would, at the moment, I've only done 4 transfers. I've still got my wild card. I had 5 out in this team, which were, again, my defense went out. Then I had Stafford out, Mixon out, Nakao, and Bateman. So all apart from my defense, all the other 4 again are like, medium to high money assets. So then I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to do the same, and I need to move out all of them out. And in doing so, I thought, because I've backed the Bills and the Eagles in the other game, I'm going to back the Chiefs to beat the Eagles in this team to try and, even it out across my 2 teams and give myself as much chance as I can across my 2 teams to try and place some money by the end of it. And then I've got 2 Washington assets. So who I brought in was Patrick Mahomes, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce. Because I think if the Chiefs win that game, I think Kelce will probably have a good game, and Mahomes will hopefully score enough points to keep me competitive. And then, I've already got Scary in this team. I've got Amari Cooper as my other wide receiver, and I just got Robinson just because I felt like, again, I could play against the fact to pick the Eagles in my other team and have a couple of Washington assets. But actually, if I'm not playing my wild card here, I may actually rejig this again and just pick the team that I think is going to score the highest points this week. And then I can use the wild card next week instead. Because I'm not sure I'm that confident on Robinson, to be honest. So I'm like owning and ahhing with this team. But it's quite difficult because should I use my wild card this round and try and set myself up well for the next game? But I think because I only need to, if I leave my defense and don't bother playing one, I only need to make 4 transfers, take 1 hit, and then leave my wild card next week and have to take no hits, which I think is a better move personally. So I could use my wild card this week and have 6 next week that I need to change.
Yeah,
Um,
I would leave my wild card.
so actually, because I'm leaving my wild card, I don't have to think about who I'm going to have left next week. So this team could completely change. Actually, I might get rid of Robinson and
Yeah,
work out how I can upgrade a running back somehow.
yeah. So my team, I lost 4 players.
Yeah.
My defense Ravens.
Okay.
I lost Jameson Williams. Who else did I lose? I lost 3 wide receivers. I lost Williams, Collins, and Bateman.
Okay. And,
So
and did you say you still got your wild card?
I've still got my wild card. So I got four.
Okay.
I got 3 wide receivers and a defense. So like you, I
Yeah.
maybe not play with a defense.
Okay.
I've took them 3 out and I've managed to put in AJ Brown,
Yeah.
Shakir,
Yeah.
and DeAndre Hopkins.
It's not bad, is it really?
It's not bad. Without I won't have a defense, but I would rather leave my wild card till the Super Bowl. I'm
I
300. I'm 339, so middle of the pack. So I've just got to hope this team can put me up a few places and hope people above me haven't have used their wild card and I can make ground that way.
exactly, and you could have a lot of you know. I would imagine my um second team. Where is it? They you that's going to go behind you. How many points are you on?
220, I believe.
Yeah, so my second team's taken an 8 point hit.
Mm.
Um, so that's going to go bit below you. So actually, you're by not having to take a hit this week and still having your wild card next week secures you not having to take any hits really.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams, although you're 339th, by the start of this game, you might be closer to 300 because I'm 308 with my second team. And even with my first team, it was having to take 2 hits, right? I've gone from 236 down to 220. So that's coming down. So you're going to make gains that way. So actually, although you might think right now you're not feeling too confident because of how much points you scored over the first 2 weeks, but I think a lot of teams will have to take hits or use their wild card. And if they don't take hits now and use their wild card, they might have to then have to take hits in the next round. So I think you're actually in a quite. I don't think you're necessarily. I don't think any of our teams are in very good positions to be able to necessarily win the whole thing. But I think they're all in positions that could still place and make money.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's quite interesting how you have to try and work your way around it. And I didn't even think about it in my head until we spoke. Oh, if I'm saving my wild card in that second lineup, I don't have to think with my about my first lineup. I just need to play whatever team I think is going to score the best
Yeah.
in this second lineup because I was wildcard it the next time. I didn't even think about that. So it's good to just discuss things and then hopefully it's helped other people that are listening to work out what they want to do with their team. It's quite interesting, and I think although it's helped us because we wanted to do this game so it would prepare us for the season game, but actually I think it's in a way it does it, but in another way I don't think it does at all because the decisions we're making are a lot different because our teams are getting knocked out rather than they're not playing. And you will have bye weeks to contend with as well, won't you? But I'm looking forward to playing the season game next year. And if you're finding it interesting to listen to, obviously you should get involved as well next year. And in the top with the time being, you can have a couple of plays in the championship game and the Super Bowl on some other DFS action on Fanteam. And of course, if you use the link below, you get a £2 token which you can use in the championship game and put your team in, and hopefully you can win some money. And if you enjoy it, make sure you also then keep playing, and hopefully you win yourself some money ready for the summer break. Without further ado, anything else for this week, Dowie?
No, good luck to you on Sunday. I'll be rooting for the Buffalo Bills, so
I think everyone will be unless they're a Chiefs fan or if they wear black and white.
yeah, but thanks for everyone for listening and enjoy the playoffs this weekend.
Yeah. Enjoy the playoffs, and we'll see you next week for maybe 2 little shorter episodes for the Super Bowl. Take care and enjoy your weekend. Ta-da.